everyone, hello, my name is Sylwia. Welcome to my channel. So today I want to talk to you about communication and why this is so important and how does it impacting us in our life and our relationships. And all, this communication topic, I've been actually inspired by our moon. Last night we had last full moon this year. So, and the full moon last night, it was in Gemini. And Gemini, the star sign in Gemini is all about communication. It's a very strong star sign when it comes to communications. So whether you believe it or not that the moon and the moon phases actually are impacting us, it does. And so, you might find, the last couple of days, like, so last night we had the full moon, but about 2 days before the full moon and 2 days after, you will feel very much the impact of the energy of the full moon. So how can you maybe not really how to prepare, because it's it's past, but what could you do and how, what to pay attention to, especially around this time. So communication is very important, and as I said, this full moon, it will invoke every like things that you didn't say before, or things that maybe you should have said something, your own truth, your own feelings, express it, or maybe something in the past that you kept so much hidden, all of a sudden it comes to the surface. So this is it, like this is the energy of the moon. The energy of the full moon is impacting us also in the way that if you don't communicate your own truth the way you should, then it can evoke some conflicts with other people. So this is, as I said, I've been inspired by the full moon to do this, to talk to you about communication, because really when we think about communications, this is like the core of every single relationship that you can have. Communication is the glue of everything. You can't, without communication, there's no love. Without communication, there's no trust. Without communication, there's no respect. Without communication, there's no relationship, because you cannot communicate with someone and expect to have a good, healthy relationship. It doesn't work like that. So the communication, it's really the core of everything. It's the glue, as I said. It's the glue of every single relationship that you have, whether it's a romantic relationship, whether it's with your kids relationship, whether it's with yourself, with your friends, parents, any co-workers. Every single relationship requires to have a good communication, because if the communication isn't good, the relationship goes down. So how to maintain good communications? First of all, you have to be honest and truthful. You have to say things that you feel like you want to say, but in a very respectful manner. You can't just accuse other people of, you made me feel this way and it's all your fault. Of course the other person then will want to defend themselves, because why should they take it? So automatically you're triggering something in them and the communication is just out the window. It's the same when people are arguing. When people are arguing, you would think they're exchanging words, but really they're not listening. They're not taking anything in. So really, it's just it's like a transaction between words, but nothing is listened to, nothing is sinking in. So rather than listening and really hear the other person, what is the message that they try to tell me, we tend to then hear what they say, but in our head, we already internalized the message that we want to give it back. So really, we don't listen to take it in and to really make this person being heard. We listen to respond. we listen and we creating the answer in our heads already. So it's not really good communication, because the other person probably does the same thing to you. They not listen and they feel like you don't listen. So when they feel like you don't listen to them, it's more and more, it's like a spiral, it's like a vicious circle of argument, changing words that really are meaningless, and they just there to hurt each other. And this is not healthy communication. This is not how you should communicate with other people. This is not how you build healthy and loving relationships with others. Communication is a huge concept. Communication is always the first that brings people together, but also when the communication drops, when the communication goes bad, the relationship gets destroyed. So this is why it's so important that you do look after and you pay attention how you communicate with other people, because sometimes we tend to not speak what we want to speak, because we think, oh, I better not say it because I will hurt the other person. If I will keep this to myself, then like you try to mind the other person. Or I better not say this, it's annoyed me, but I better not say it, because if I do, then we will have a huge argument. I don't want to have an argument. So you kind of avoiding the argument by really miscommunicating, or you don't communicate your feelings at all, which then what you do to yourself, you actually giving yourself a message that you are not, your feelings are not valid, like you're not important. So that feeling of I'm less, I'm not maybe as important, I will be fine, whatever, this piles up, and then it gets to the moment where you just have enough, and it's like volcano, like explosion, and then you have a huge argument. So you can see, like, piling stuff up and not saying things as they are out of fear. Maybe I don't want to argue, I don't want the other person, I don't want them get them to to feel hurt by me. It's better, it's better not to say anything. But the thing is, if you felt that, whatever it was, when you felt it, it means it affected you. And if it did affect you, and if you felt it, it means that the other person probably felt it too. You just don't know maybe how to express that. Maybe you don't know how to say it. But the fact that you did feel it, it happened. It is there. If it was nothing, as you did say it to yourself, you wouldn't feel it. But because there was something, there is something was bothering you, and you just dismissing it, that doesn't solve the problem. Only with good communication you can actually solve any issue. No issue is actually bigger if the communication you practice is good. So communication is everything, because it has such a good impact on our relationship. It's a glue, it's a building component. It also has a side effect. When you don't have and when you don't maintain good communications with your partner or with your friend or with anybody at all, there's a huge impact of that as well. So the main one and the most obvious one is that the relationship that with the other person, it's not going to be good. You're not going to feel connected with this person. You're not going to feel like you get each other. You're not going to feel like you're close with the other person. So that is, it's like the lack of communication pulls you away from people. It's like detach you from others. And, it can evoke in you the feeling of being lonely, being not understood, being dismissed, a lot. And then you actually the one who stays with that feeling, and you then start to look for something else somewhere else, and then the real problem starts. So how to stop that the miscommunication part, is to, first of all, you have to be honest. You have to be truthful with yourself first. You got to say, okay, this is how I felt. What can I do here? I would probably have to say that to her, that I didn't appreciate that. I didn't, she made me feel this and that. I don't like it. But if I won't say it, she won't know it. So if she won't know it, how can she change it? How can she be aware of it? How can she not do it again if she's not aware of it? So as you can see, when you don't communicate, you tend to go to the mind reading. You try to then read people's mind. You try to figure out what they think. And that is then very much linked to overthinking things. When you don't communicate well out loud, you then start to internalize that in your own head. You start to overthink things. You try to figure out what other people might say. You try to predict things. What could that person behave? What could she say? Or how could she behave on that? You try to predict. And you try to predict because you stop trusting the other person. You stop trusting the situation. You stop trusting yourself that you can deal with this. The other thing that is also, the lack of communication is that you might feel, as I said, dismissed, disrespected, which then gets you very much on the defensive side. The person might say something to you, and it's not necessarily with the bad intention. Maybe it just sounded bad, but you're not going to hear it because you're already on a defensive. You're already saying like, no, I'm not hearing this. You already hurt me. I'm not having this anymore. So lack of trust is actually growing here. Also, with the lack of trust, also that can trigger your own insecurities. It can trigger something from your childhood, how your own parents were communicating with each other, how you felt when you were a child. It's a lot. Lack of communication or bad communications can really trigger you as well. And the more the trigger, the more insecure you will actually feel in your relationship. Also, when you don't communicate things, you then start to create somehow some kind of expectations towards the other person. Oh, this person should know how I feel. This person should know what's going on for me. This person, should think of how I felt, or should say or shouldn't say things. But you're going to this mind reading, you're going to these expectations, but you don't communicate them. You feel them, you thought of them, you heard your own thoughts, but that's about that. You don't communicate out loud. You don't speak what you want. You don't speak what you expect. You don't speak about your feelings. So how do you then expect the other person to do what exactly you want them to be doing? Like, people can't read your mind. And unless you say what you want, you're not gonna have it. Because who would know that? Unless you communicate clearly and with honesty, what you want, this is when you're gonna have it. Because people can't read your mind. And when you don't communicate with people, but yet you expect them to act or say certain things, again, you try to mind read them, which yourself, it never worked. It never worked so far, and it's not going to work ever. We can't read other people's minds. Unless they tell you, then we know. Unless you tell them, then they know. Sometimes we tend to tell ourselves that, we hate confrontations. I'm not confrontational person. I can't confront people. I can't say things. You can. The minute you felt it, the minute you thought of that, this is just it's just the proof that you can. It's your evidence that you can say those things. But you don't say it because there is fear. And you are afraid then of being honest, being vulnerable. Because let's be honest, when you're going to be vulnerable, when you're going to actually, say things, you're going to be vulnerable. When you're going to be truthful, you're exposing yourself. When you're going to be, open about what you want, it's like you're welcoming the other person to your own world, your inner world. That might not be always safe. So this is why you be careful how you communicate things, not to offend the other person, but also to make sure it's safe. But when it comes to your partner, when it comes to your husband, your wife, even kids, close friends, that's where you actually should be feeling that you can open up yourself. That's where you should feel like, you know what, like you are close to me, like you are very much in my inner circle. So yes, I want to feel like I can open up to you. And I would like you to open up to me. But that can only happen when you're going to sit together and name it. Look, I feel there's an issue we need to sort out. There is something we need to talk about. I don't want to argue, but I need you to hear me out, and I'm willing to hear you out too. You just say it with respect and say as it is. Don't allow fear to control how you communicate with people. Don't allow fear to tell you what to say and what kind of feelings and how much open to be with the other person. Of course, like, you're not going to have the same conversation with your boss, let's say, or a coworker that you would have with your wife or with your husband. There's a completely different dynamic. It's a completely different relationship. But it's still communication with that, with both of those relationships is still very important. So how you communicate things, it's very important. When your boss, for example, doesn't treat you well, let's say he or she's kind of a bully or disrespectful, not really, kind of mean person, and you don't say nothing. When you don't say nothing, it means you're accepting that this is how it is, things, and it's okay with you. Is it? Is it really though? If it doesn't feel right, it's caused you so much stress, then allow yourself to say it. Mrs. or Mr. whatever, I would like to have a word with you. Is there an issue? I don't like the way you talk to me. I think this is kind of disrespectful. Use the I. Don't be afraid of I feel this way. I think that way. I perceive things this way. I don't appreciate this. I don't like this. I would like. See, when you have a serious conversation and you keep this with an I, your I is your power. When you say things with the I feel this, the other person nervous system is not activated. It's because they can't be activated because defensive. You're not throwing things at them. It's not like, oh, you did this now and I feel like it was because of you. And of course, defensive up. But when you keep, while you speak, the conversation with an I feel this is how I think, tell me if it's different, but this is how I feel. They can't defend themselves, because there's no need. Because you're not accusing them of anything. You're not telling them that they did something wrong. Your I with any communications is your power. Also, with the I, when you keep the conversation with an I and you use I, that, as I said, it gives you power. It gives you, with the other person, like, communicate your own feelings with respect. But also there's something else going on. You're telling yourself that how you feel is important, and you're going to rely on yourself and make this work for you. That is the message that you're giving yourself. When you keep the conversation with an I, you're actually giving yourself a boost of confidence. I can do it. Not everything needs to be about everybody else. Sometimes things can be about me, and that's okay. So how you communicate is also very important. Not only that you do communicate, but it's how you communicate things. When you use also the I with the conversation, the other person, yes, they can't defend, but also they listen to what you want to say rather than listening to respond. They listen because it's I feel, I this, I that. So they don't feel like they want to respond immediately. So they listen, they don't create answers in their own head already as you do speak. Because they don't know what else you're going to say. They're actually, you make this more interesting. Because when you start to use you did this, you said that, you made me feel like that, they don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear like, oh my god, like I'm such a bad person, why would I hear this? I don't want it. So they're cutting themselves off. And the communication goes down or out the window. How you communicate things really is about how you have, like, what kind of relationship you have with yourself. If you do listen to yourself, if you honor your own feelings, if you do respect yourself, if you maintain good relationship with yourself, every single relationship that you're going to have is going to be so much easier. Because you actually maintaining good relationship with yourself. So as you can see, relationships, communications, love, respect, trust, all comes to one. Communications. Good communications. So start having good conversations with yourself. Start telling yourself what you want, and don't be afraid of saying this out loud. If someone hurts you, say it. If you have some kind of expectations, say it. But don't overthink things. Don't expect other people to dedicate their lives to you when you don't do that for them. Don't do that. Start to communicate with honesty. Be honest, be truthful. Say your own truth as it is. Don't be afraid to be open, to be exposed, to be vulnerable. That's okay. You can handle that. When you don't communicate things because out of fear, really what you're creating, a problem like this in your head grows to like this size. Or even then bigger. bigger than you, and then of course you're going to tell yourself, I can't do these things because this problem now is bigger than me, and then piles up and you explode and it's actually worse. Then the problem is actually maybe bigger than it would be back a few weeks ago when it was just this tiny bit. But you were then afraid to say it, to communicate it, and it grew because it added more stuff on. So don't allow yourself to wait for so long until you explode. Say things as they are, as they go along with them. And that will make your life so much easier. Okay, thank you very much everyone for watching this video. If you like it, please click like or subscribe it, or share with your friends. For today, that's it. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you very soon. With loads of love. Bye!